There's a method to strangle a country without any kinetic action. It was used against Germany in World War II, and it looks like it's being used today. Imagine this. You don't invade a country, you don't bomb it, you don't even step foot inside of it. You just cut it off. No trade, no supplies, no way in, no way out. And slowly, everything starts to break down. It's a blockade, and it's one of the most powerful and dangerous tools in warfare. Kia ora, no mai ki te haerenga. Welcome to the Fleeing Ignorance podcast. Today we're breaking down blockades, how they actually work, the tactics behind them, the legal side, and what's happening right now with the US and Iran. At its simplest, a blockade is when one side stops people or goods from entering or leaving another country. And according to an international law, it's basically an act of where access to a country's coast is prevented. And that's important. A blockade isn't just pressure, it's considered an act of war. There are two main types: military, to weaken forces; economic, to break countries over time. Most modern ones are both. How blockades actually work. So how do you actually stop a country from trading? It's not like the ships line up in a wall across the ocean. It's about control and threat. Detection. First you need to know what's moving. Simply meaning satellites, radar, ship tracking, human signals in. Most ships broadcast their position, so you can see them coming from far away. Interception. Then comes interception. Warships don't sit right at the port. That's too dangerous. Instead, they operate at distance and intercept ships as they're moving through open water. That might mean boarding the ship, turning it around, seizing it. And there's threat of force. This is the real core of a blockade. You don't need to stop every ship. You just need to make it clear, if you try, something will happen. That threat alone stops most traffic. Control of choke points. The most effective blockades happen at choke points. Places where ships have to pass through, like the Strait of Hormuz. One of the most important shipping routes in the world. Control that and you control global trade flow. A blockade isn't about stopping everything, it's about making movement too dangerous to try. So talking a little bit more about naval tactics, we're not just talking about destroying the enemy, but controlling where ships can go, where and what they can carry, and whether they can operate at all. So you've got sea control versus sea denial. Sea control, you dominate an area, your ships operate freely, enemy ships can't enter safely. An example is the United States naval carrier groups controlling regions where they're at. Sea denial, you don't control the sea, but you make it too dangerous for an enemy. That's where you plant mines, submarines, missiles. You got presence in the area with things like drones that can't really hold, but they do deny. An example, obviously, the Iranian focusing on denying the Persian Gulf. You don't need to own the ocean, you just need to make it unsafe. So layers of naval warfare. Modern naval tactics are layered, not just ships shooting at ships. Use air layers, jets from carriers, surveillance aircraft, and they're there to spot early threats, strike before ships even get close. You got the surface layer, destroyers, frigates. Their purpose is to project and protect fleets and engage threats. And then you got the subsurface layer. That's submarines, and I suppose some drones fall into that space now. Stealth attacks and intelligence gathering. The key idea is the fight often happens before ships even see each other. So once you've got that level of control over the area and your ships are able to move freely, then you're able to set up in different formations, interdicting enemy ships as they come through. If we look at the strategy that Iran's using, the underdog strategy, they use methods like swarm attacks, coastal missiles, and naval mines. That works by overwhelming big ships, and it's incredibly hard to track. You don't need to fight strength with strength, you just attack weakness. The legal side. Now here's where things get interesting. Blockades are illegal, but only under certain conditions. According to international law, they must be officially declared, effective, not just the threats, and be enforced equally. You can't just say we blockade you and do nothing. That's called paper blockade, and it's not valid. There's also a big issue, neutral countries. What happens when third-party ships get stopped? That's where things escalate quickly. See, even if the third-party ships are stopped and allowed to move through, that still adds time, and where the world's at the moment, which is a good blanket rule for always, the longer you're stopping these ships from shipping, the more expensive most things are becoming. A good example is the American Civil War. One of the most famous blockades happened during the American Civil War. The Union blocked the southern ports, cutting off supplies and trade. Over time, it weakened the South massively. Another example was the Berlin blockade. This one wasn't even at sea. The Soviet Union blocked land across western Berlin. Instead of fighting, the US allies flew supplies in, showing something important. Blockades don't always work. Now, if we move forward onto the US and Iran situation, right now we're seeing a real-world example. In April 2026, the United States launched a naval blockade targeting Iran. The goal? Stop ships entering and leaving Iranian ports. This means cutting off oil exports, one of Iran's biggest economic lifelines. Reports say this could block millions of barrels of oil per day from reaching the global market. But the key detail is, it doesn't stop all ships, only those connected to Iran, which shows how modern blockades work. Targeted, strategic, not a total shutdown. Iran called it illegal and warned of retaliation, and that's the risk, because once you start stopping ships, you're only one step away from direct conflict. And that's the worry about this big current blockade that's going on at the moment, that it's going to end the ceasefire and bring us back to more conventional war. And the big legal argument with the current blockade is that Iran's initial one was illegal, but Iran argued that it was justified via wartime necessity. And now America's arguing that their one's legal because they're blocking Iranian ships solely. And from the latest statement from Trump, he states, "We can't let a country blackmail or extort the world because of what they're doing," Trump says of Iran. Speaking outside the Oval Office, Trump suggested the US is still willing to engage with Iran. "I can tell you that we've been called by the other side." He added, "We've been called this morning by the right people, the appropriate people, and they want to work a deal." Trump did not say who called or what was discussed. Minutes before the scheduled start of the blockade, the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations Agency issued a notice to mariners that said the restriction included the entirety of the Iranian coastline, including ports and energy infrastructure. So yeah, blockades are powerful. They can weaken a country without invading it, but they're also risky because they sit right on the edge between pressure and war. And maybe that's the bigger takeaway. War isn't always bombs and bullets. Sometimes it's control, movement, and cutting things off. If we're going to flee ignorance, we've got to understand how these systems actually work. Hey, konara. I'll see you in the next one.